Welcome back to Property Management Madness. Property management is crazy. So let's talk about it. Pull up a seat, pull up a drink. We'll wait while you get ready. Okay, I'm your host, Shauna.
And I'm your co host, Jay. And today we're going to be talking about the differences between what I do and what you do, Shauna. So, the
Okay,
differences between single family management and
conventional.
tax credit and HUD property management.
Okay.
So, today we have a special guest. That's Melanie here. And Melanie, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, we know who you are. So tell the audience who you are.
Hello, audience. I'm Melanie. I am a service coordinator for a HUD low income handicapped senior disabled community. So basically, what I do is problem solve. Any problem you could think that a resident may have, you know, assist them. So it could be something far as lease recertification, or it could be that they're behind under DTE consumer energy bills, or it could be that they need to renew their Medicaid, Medicare, things like that. It could be food assistance, so Focus Hope, Meals on Wheels, local food banks. So it's just a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of sitting there and you never know what your day is going to be because you never know who's going to walk in and what they're going to need. So kind of thinking quick on your feet, just to be ready for whatever comes in the door.
Oh, that's really interesting because we don't have anything like that in single family. I mean, I would love to have something like that. I need somebody to kind of coordinate everything and get somebody to pay their DTE bills or help them pay their DTE bills.
Right.
I mean, there are times where we can point people kind of in the right direction to go. Maybe you can go here to get some help or you can go here to get some help, but we don't have anything like that. So it's really hard when we have somebody that's behind and all they have is repercussions and
Right.
no assistance
Well, yeah,
in
we
our
talked about
industry.
that on one of our previous episodes. Like, if a resident, in conventional housing is struggling and they ask their property manager, like, hey, I can't pay my rent, I lost my job, we can usually give them a list of resources, but that's a lot different than like what you do because you're there.
Yeah.
So, like, especially, so Melanie, she's at my property and it's amazing. That, when somebody is just like, "Hey, I'm struggling here," or, I got this letter. And sometimes it's just as simple as, "Hey, I got this letter in the mail. I don't know if this is a scam or not." And, the
Oh, and
service coordinators, it's
that's really important for like
especially
people in
for
the
the
senior
seniors.
community because they're
Yes.
really easy for someone to take advantage of them. I know it used to happen to my mom all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just something as little as that, and, like, the service coordinators be like, "Okay, here, let me take a look." And it could just be something as simple as that. I mean, how often, Melanie, do you get something easy like that versus like what's like the most difficult thing that you deal with? Because you
Y-
deal with like you said, like everything. You never
It
know what's gonna walk in the door.
Yeah, it's everything. I deal with those letters a good amount. I have a couple people that always come down and they're like, I got this letter in the mail. Is this valid? Or they have a check and they're like, I need to cash this. But what happens is that it's some type of health insurance company that gives them this like $10 check and then
Oh,
it makes
yep,
them switch over
Oh,
and
yep.
then
And
they
if you
have
cash
issues
this, then
oh
you
my
with their
gosh.
say
health
that you
insurance.
want to transfer.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
and I mean that could change like whether or not somebody's medications or doctors are covered at that point.
Yeah, what happens is when their insurance switches over, there's usually a 30-day gap, which means that they don't have any health insurance or they can't get their
yeah.
medication. So it's just making those residents be aware that, hey, if that comes to you, ask questions. Don't sign up for things because you see a check,
Right.
you know. So getting them to be aware, most often I get more people that have issues far as um, needing to be on a low income plan or a senior plan for
Mm.
their DTE and their consumer energy because their
Yeah.
bills are so high.
Right.
So we deal with a lot of that. I've dealt with people that come and wait to the last minute and have shut off notices. And I'm like, why did you wait this late? technically that's a violation of the terms of their lease if it
Yeah.
gets shut off. So I try to make sure I deal with it before they get in shut off status.
So you are trying to help them before it
Yeah.
becomes a
Yeah.
bigger problem or a lease violation or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, like, I know exactly what you're talking about because it used to happen. Like Shauna, you knew my mom, and it used to happen with my mom all the time.
Yep.
Those solicitors would call or something would come in the mail,
Yep.
and
They
she wouldn't
promise
know
you
what
the
was going
prized
on.
pig.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
would think, oh, you know what, I need to change my insurance. This says I need to change my insurance. So she would call and go through everything, change her insurance, and then it would like completely mess everything up. And then
Yeah.
she wouldn't have the coverage that she had before. So I think like having somebody like you, especially in the kind of community you guys work for, to help your senior residents through that and the process, like that's a huge plus. That's a huge gain for your
Yeah.
community.
Yeah,
We don't
absolutely.
have anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, we help them with that, and we help them with so much, other things. So it could be just basic things where they don't know how to work their cell phones. I have a lot of people that come down with their cell phones,
That's
their laptops.
technologically challenged.
Yeah, technically challenge. So what happens is I will take the time to sit down and show them how to do it. Some of them have cell phones and their government phones where they have to make one call a month or the phone will be cut off.
Mhm.
Some of them don't even know how to dial out, and they have lost that, it's called
That free phone,
ACP.
yeah.
Yeah, so they lose that. So making sure to remind them of that and just encouraging them too to do activities that the building has, um, and different activities, like, for instance, I just set up a trip for September the 29th for them to go back to the DIA.
Yeah.
That was something that we did a couple months back, and it was a big hit, and they really enjoyed it. So now, we're gonna take them back out. This time, we'll take about 35 people instead of 25.
Oh, that'll be nice.
Yep. So
Yeah.
just doing that, and then we have presenters come in that help them with health insurance, pharmacies
Mm.
that come in. We've had Department of Health and Human Services come in and do presentations for them too. So we just try to make sure that they still have health insurance, that they still have their SNAP food
Mhm.
benefits, things like that. Just making sure their day to day needs are taken care of.
See, in the single family industry, I would love to eventually get to the point where I could have somebody like that on staff
Yeah.
that could assist with those kind of things because really in my industry, it's like we just deal with having to deal out the repercussions of your utilities getting shut off and things because we don't have anybody that does that. You're on your own as a tenant because we're just a single family company that just manages properties for a multitude of different owners and everything like that.
Right.
So we don't have anyone when a tenant comes to me and says, "Well, I'm sorry, my water's been off for months and I've been using like bottled water and stuff." But when I go to a property, there's not a lot I can do about that.
Right.
All I can say is you need to pay your water bill or I'm paying it and adding it to your ledger because it's gonna get added to the owner's taxes.
Right.
And, if I had somebody like that on staff that could help point, a tenant in the right direction of this is who you need to talk to. They can help you get this paid. They can do this. They can do that. Like, excuse me, sorry. That would be like a game changer in some aspects of what I do.
Well, yeah, especially if you have somebody that specializes in that.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they do. So it's not just you Googling. Let me Google it for you.
Yeah.
But it's not just you Googling, the answer for somebody. It's that, there's an expertise that goes with it and you know that they're in the right hands. And I do think that it's made a huge difference for me even as a community manager because, I manage a senior property. So the median age, I would say, um, it's about like I think I said 72, 73.
Mhm.
We have a little bit of an older community. They
Yeah.
can
Your
start moving in.
demographic's a lot
Yeah, they can
different.
start moving in at 62. But we do have a little bit of an older community. and some people don't know how to use their cell phones, and especially with HUD, there's a recertification that has to take place
Yeah.
every single year, and it can be very difficult to get people to comply because they don't necessarily know how to reach out and get a social security letter
Yeah.
or how to reach out and get like a printout for their whole life
Mhm.
insurance. And I'm on the other end, same as you. I say, well, you need to comply. If you don't comply, you're now paying
Yeah, you're gonna
market.
lose
You're,
it.
yeah,
You're
you're
gonna lose
gonna
this
pay market,
certification. Yeah.
and I don't want to do that. But that's my, that's my job. At the end of the day, this is a business, and this is rent, and this is how it works. So having somebody that I can, make a service referral for and say, here, Melanie, can you take a look at this and help her or him through this? Call Social Security. I mean, and you guys, right? You sit on the line with them.
Yeah, we sit on the line. The last person I had, it took 45 minutes for us to get through, and we
Mhm.
just sat there,
Yeah.
and we told them, we said, "We need a benefit letter." So, yeah, we have that, and then the issue too with bank statement. So
Oh
some
yeah.
people have online bank accounts where they're able to log in, and I actually will connect that to our printer so that they can print up the bank statements. Our office is set up where the Wi-Fi, once they come in, it can connect to their device and they can automatically print up their document.
Yeah. So
See, I
that's
wish we had
awesome.
something like that.
Yeah.
Like in my industry, it's just not a thing. Like we do have tenants that have like things like Section 8 or a third party that pays their rent
Yeah, I
for them
wanted
and
to talk
helps them
about
out with
that
that.
too because even, in that third party voucher,
Yeah.
section 8 that you handle in conventional housing, they still don't have that.
Yeah.
Like they don't
Even
have.
in that,
Yeah,
we still don't have a coordinator that helps people with that.
right.
So when we get the letter saying, the tenant hasn't provided the information to get their recertification, there's not like a lot I can do except reach out to the tenant and say, "Hey, you need to contact your worker and get this information because your
Yeah,
rent is going to get abated."
right.
And when the rent is abated, the tenant becomes responsible for that full rental amount. Like
Yeah,
the amount doesn't change, but the amount of their responsibility changes. So,
right.
say the rent is $600, a tenant with a Section 8 voucher could be responsible for $0 of that, and Section 8 pays all of it, or they could be responsible for like $90 of it.
Yeah,
But if they don't complete that
they're
certification and
responsible
get
for
all of their
600.
information over to them,
Yeah,
they're responsible for that entire rental amount.
right.
And when it gets abated because they didn't provide the information, Section 8 isn't going to go back and pay the back rent
No,
once
they
they
don't.
recertify. They don't pay that.
Nope.
So now the tenant is on the hook for this rent money that is due to the owner because, like you said, it's a business.
Yep.
And the owner of the property is looking to get paid for the rent that's due to them. And there's nothing I can really do to help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's not a fun conversation. It's not a fun thing to do to enforce all of that,
Yeah,
but I mean, it is what it is sometimes because we don't have anybody like that in our industry.
yeah. Well, and because so we have the service coordinators at my property. We have two. So Melanie, you want to talk about a little bit more. How does a property become eligible for it? How do you get a service coordinator? Like, how does the program, like, how does it work?
Well, it's a grant program, so that particular location needs to have a grant written, and then it's submitted, and then if it's approved, then based upon the size of that property, it will determine if they get 1 or 2 service coordinators.
Okay, so it's a grant that
Now,
Yeah.
does
pays
it
for everything.
for those kind of grants, is that only for like properties like yours that are like senior living kind of properties where you have a certain amount of people in this age demographic? Like, say, with I do single family, it's all ages, it can be anybody. So, do I have to have a certain amount in a certain demographic to be able to apply for a grant like that?
No, they don't. In fact, there are some sites that have grants and they don't have seniors. So Some are family housing, just strictly families, and there are no seniors involved. So it just depends, on I think too the ownership of that property.
So
There
I
are also some buildings that we have. There's some like in Walled Lake that are actually the owner of that property is a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So it's a different side to that too when it's a
okay.
nonprofit.
I have
But
a follow-up question. Um, so does it have to be only for people that are on some kind of assistance already? Say I have tenants that are low income, but they're not on an assistance voucher or anything because say I have apartment buildings where the rent is $500 to $600 a month.
Or less.
But yeah, or less.
Yeah.
But the people they're low income, they don't make great money, so they are still struggling paying utilities or paying their rent at times. Do they have to already have some kind of voucher or assistance for
no,
the
so
to apply
I
for
think
this?
the community itself, it's how the community is listed. So it could be that community is like a senior community.
Mhm.
It could be a community that's a family community, you know, but also I think like low income.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
it's on a low income basis.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
because like, it just wheels are spinning in my head
Yeah.
about, like, all because we have so many tenants that,
That need help.
they get behind, things
Yeah.
happen, especially with the pandemic we went through, and people are, like to this day,
Yeah.
people are still recovering,
Yeah.
and, there sometimes you have to make the choice between paying rent or paying utilities or buying food, and yeah,
Th-
sometimes the rent or utilities take the back burner and people get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's true. And, you know, in my industry, there's not a lot of things we can do other than say, you need to reach out to some places, go and Google something, find somebody to help you
Yeah.
because we don't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, that's been a real eye opener, especially when I first got to my property, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's service coordinators." I'm like, "Well, what
A
the hell
lot of
do
them
they?"
are like, what are that?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
You
"What
know,
the what
Well,
who
the
are
when
hell do
they
they?
they
told me
do?"
about a service coordinator, because like you all know, I work in single family, and Shauna used to
Yeah.
work with me, and she went to work there. And when they would talk about, oh, our service coordinator, I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? I
Yeah.
don't even know
Yeah.
what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, "So, what do they do?"
Yeah, and they do. There's a thing where a lot of people don't clearly understand what service coordinators are.
Mhm.
Sometimes I've been told they think we just sit in our office and do nothing. And I'm like, just because you come in my office and you see that there's no one there doesn't mean that I'm not working.
Yeah.
So we do different programs. Like I have one, um, which is the senior companion program.
Oh,
So
that yeah,
right
that just came to our property. I'm really excited about
Yeah.
that.
So it's been a lot of me managing that, getting it together, making sure people have background checks, matching people
Mhm.
with other people in the building, if they don't have transportation. If a resident who is a companion has a car, they can go out and service anyone in Macomb County as long as they're a senior, handicapped, or disabled individual.
Mhm.
And that program, that companion gets a stipend. It's not a whole bunch of money, but it
But
does
it's
add
something.
up. It's something, and
Yeah.
then it also helps them to get out. It helps the person that they're serviced to have that interaction.
Yeah.
So we do have some matches in the building.
Yeah.
So I have been doing that. I have a meeting next week with two new residents that are starting the program on the 21st, and they're matched with people in the building also. So it's a lot of work that goes into that because I'm reaching out to the residents, hey, do you want a companion? And then the other side is, hey, do you want to be somebody's companion?
Right.
And just getting them together. So that's a big program for me because what I want to do is pull the residents out that are in their apartments and not
Yeah.
coming out.
See, that like
Yeah.
that kind of tugs at my heartstrings a little bit
Yeah.
because that's really important for people that are in a certain demographic, like the older senior community,
Yeah.
people that are alone, people that don't have family. Even my own mom, like when she was still alive,
Yep.
She was home alone a lot. She didn't have anybody to really talk to or hang
Mhm.
out with,
Yeah.
and that leads to a lot of deterioration of
Yes.
people,
Yes, it
because when you
does.
don't have somebody that you can just talk to, hang out with, like, you kinda, like, become, like, inverted, like,
Inverted, yeah.
you retreat into yourself,
Yeah.
and, it's important to have somebody that's like, "Hey, let's go out and do this," or "Let's hang out," or "Let's talk on the phone, do whatever."
Yeah.
And to have that, like, that's a
Yeah.
really great program.
Yeah,
Like,
and the way that the
that's
senior companion program
kinda makes me
works.
choke up a little bit.
Yeah, the way that the senior companion program works is that the senior that is paired with the other senior, so that you have the companion and the person that needs the companion,
Yeah.
and they can do anything, like, whatever the other person needs. So if that's just, come on over and play board games with me 3 times a week or twice a week or whatever, or get me to come down
And that keeps
because
your
I'm
mind sharp
yeah,
too.
well, because I'm afraid of coming down to, say, the activities. Like, our building is so active. We have so many things.
Very.
Oh,
It's
I've been there, I know.
ridiculous. Like, we have so many different activities and things like that, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. But we have so much stuff going on, and some people just they don't know a lot of people, so
Mhm.
they don't wanna come down, or they're afraid that, um like, we're gonna have, like, a hustle class. Like, we're gonna teach people to do the hustle, and, we have, like, luau dancers, and some people are like, "Well, I don't know how to do that," and they feel silly.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable going down there. Oh, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to play this." Or, we had like a pinochle tournament and I don't know how to play pinochle. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to knit. I don't know how to crochet. So they just stay in their apartment. And the purpose of the companion is to come down with them
Yeah.
and
Yes.
have them have someone there that is going to make it like will encourage them to get the
Yeah,
hell
it's
out
like
of their
going
apartment.
out with a friend,
But
you
yeah,
don't
and it
wanna go out
encourage
alone, you
them.
wanna go
Yeah,
out with somebody that
to
you can
and
talk
and it
to and
builds
hang
them
out
up and
with,
helps
and
them out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that program specifically is really is near to my heart, because it's also a branch off of the foster grandparents.
yeah.
So one of my grandmas was a foster grandparent. My other grandma, she was a senior companion.
Mhm.
So this program has been in my life pretty much my whole life. So I see the difference, as I was growing up, I saw the difference that it made.
Yeah, and
And I think that I'm really excited to see where this is going to go because now that it's kind of started, you see the little wheels moving
yeah,
and so many more people. I feel like
Yeah.
it
like
is
It
so
is
many more people have been
it's
coming.
a lot, I would say, for me, it's a lot of work, but I enjoy the work,
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's on the side that, yes, they are with each other and helping each other and socializing, but it's also on the side too that I need to make sure that they get their stipend, their
Right,
gas
right.
and
mileage, so much going. Before I was there were 2 residents already in the program that Shawna and the office were
Yeah.
assisting and sending their paperwork and stuff over.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I brought the program there. It was already technically there.
Yeah.
It just wasn't
it just
as
needed that kick in the butt to
Well,
get it,
yeah,
it
get
didn't
it
have a
going.
base.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's kinda
Well,
like we gave it a home base.
like,
Yeah.
what I like about this topic is, like, a lot of people, when they think about property management and things, they don't think about all of these different aspects of it. And, what we have in single family, what we don't have, what you have in community management for the senior kind of community that you have. A lot of people don't think about these things, but there's so many things that go into property management
Yeah.
that nobody thinks about. So I think talking about, like, this kind of issue kind of can open up the topics for
The
other
major
communities
difference.
and things to
Yeah.
possibly bring in programs like
Yeah.
this or apply for programs like this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's why, like, I really like this topic today, is because it's gonna bring that awareness to other people that maybe may not know about this, even
Yeah.
if you are in the industry like we are.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, because, like, when I came to the property, I mean, I knew these things existed besides service coordinators. I didn't know that they existed. But, like, I knew about, like, Focus Hope and, like, food
Yeah.
distributions and things like that, but again, like, my grandmother was a foster grandparent. She was a low income senior. She went to her senior center and she would get commodities and things like that. She was a low income senior, so she got a lot of these same services. So when I came to my property, I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with this.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that cheese. I know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
familiar with that can that just
I
says beef."
I would say that the cheese now isn't as good as
No,
back
it's
then.
not. It's not. Not at all. But, like, I'm like, "Okay, I know where this is coming from."
Yeah.
Like, that all made sense. But when I was able to actually meet the service coordinators and be like, "What exactly is like,
What do you
what is
do? What is
what yeah, what is
this?
it that you do?"
Yeah.
Not that I'm just curious. And they're
Well,
like,
you're
"Oh,
not
well, we do
familiar
this
with
and
it.
we do that and we do this." And we're like, "Holy shit. That's
And,
great."
and some of the biggest things, there are some things that I see that really touches my heart is we also deal with people that have issues as far as their apartment not being properly clean, hoarding.
Mhm.
And I think for me, hoarding is the hardest thing because I have
Yeah.
some residents like that, and it's just
Yeah.
like I'm offering them resources, I'm setting things up for them, and they don't call, they don't show up, and that in itself kinda lets me know that they have some other issues, then they need to be referred
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
additional support services.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've seen a lot of those hoarding issues in single family where we don't have those resources to point them in the direction for help.
Nope,
Like,
you
it's
just say, "You
just
gotta
not
clean
something
this
we
up."
do. We just have to say, "You gotta clean this up. This
Yep.
isn't allowed," this or that. And because it is a major hoarding is a major health concern for people.
It's also a mental disease, and
Yes,
typically
Yes.
it
100%.
stems from
And
something else.
yeah, and we don't have anything to point people in the right direction to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
But so we are just like in the boat of clean it up or you're in trouble.
Yeah, or you're gonna get
And
evicted and you're gonna be homeless because
yeah,
that's what you
and
that's gonna help you sleep at night.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, we have some owners that are just like, that no, we're not going to evict them. This is just, I already know about this. This is how they are, whatever.
Right.
But then we have others that are like, "No, I want these people out. They're destroying the place." But you gotta think that that's a disorder,
Yes, it
Yeah.
just
is.
like many other things. Like,
Mhm.
that's a disorder, and, somebody might just need some help, and
Yeah.
that helping hand, which is what you do, Melanie,
Yes.
is helping with that whole coordinating of getting them what they need or pointing them in the direction of where to go because most of the time, people don't wanna live like that.
No.
It's just they feel like they have to or they feel like they need this, and, there's nobody to help them, so this is just the way it is.
Yeah, and it can be difficult to work with them. I've had individuals where they're hoarding, you would think it's a whole bunch of stuff, but then you find out it's like 65 empty boxes. And you're like, you don't need these empty boxes, just throw them out. And they're like, but no, I need my
Yeah,
boxes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what do you do when you have that person?
It has like an emotional attachment to
Yeah,
something that you think is just stupid. You're like,
yeah,
Just throw it
yeah, you
away."
don't understand
Yeah.
the reasoning behind it,
Yeah.
but to them, this is what I need.
Yeah,
This
like,
is
yeah,
we
what I
have,
need to do, and, like
Melanie yeah, Melanie and I have been working with one of our residents, and they have a hoarding issue, and it's been so frustrating, like
Mhm,
Melanie said, it's been so frustrating because you try to give them all of the resources and say, "Hey," I mean, my assistant manager and I went out as far because we got the city on our backs. We got,
yeah,
registrations are not going to go through because he can't pass inspection. We can't get a, HVAC because there's no way
yeah,
to
you
get
can't
to
get
it.
your rental or
It's
your
it
HVAC certification or
Yeah,
anything.
we can't get anything. So he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna, clean this out. I'm gonna get a truck and things like that." And it's like, "Okay, great. I want to help you. How can I help you?"
Yeah,
And then that's kind of as far as I can go. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
what is it that I can do?
yeah,
What can I do for
and
you?
that's where we get spelled out, like,
Right.
we have to deal with the city
Yeah,
certifications because every rental property requires a
exactly.
license,
Yep.
and
And
when
if you
they
don't
go and do
pass
that inspection,
yeah,
you're not gonna pass that
Yeah, and
inspection,
then
and then it
so we
becomes
have
the tickets,
mhm.
and
Yep,
a lot of people
yep,
don't know that the owner of the property can get a misdemeanor
yep,
for not complying with
yep,
this. So, yeah, like I said, they can get a misdemeanor for non-compliance,
and a
and
lot of
what
people don't know that.
yeah, and what people really don't know is that the owner of the property could get a warrant for their arrest because they haven't complied with getting the rental registration done. And by not complying and not getting it done, us not putting that, on the tenant to say, clean this up,
Right.
then, an owner can go to jail.
Yeah.
Or the owner of the management company
And as the
who the
property manager,
property is
that's exactly
registered
what you
to,
want. That's
because
exactly what you
this
want.
this has happened. Like, the a lot of the properties
Yeah.
in single family management is registered to the owner of the management company.
Yeah.
That's true.
So the owner of our company has had warrants out
Yep.
and had to go to before the judge, had to go in and get fingerprinted, had to actually go through the process of going to jail and get bonded out
Yeah.
because we haven't complied with the rental registration. And sometimes by no most of the time by no fault of our own,
Right.
that these kind of things happen. So when we're being hard on a tenant for
Yeah.
not complying, it's not because, we're just being mean or we don't understand.
Right.
It's that there are major repercussions
Yeah.
to not complying.
Well, yeah, and, like, that's kinda where I'm at, and, like, Melanie has been helping me, but that's where I'm at with this resident, and, there's a lot that goes into a lot of layers that go into, low income housing, and a lot of people in the low income housing, they don't drive, or they
Yeah.
don't have a driver's license, or they don't have access to their information. So this resident specifically, he doesn't drive. So he got a truck, so he could at least empty some of his unit out, but the person who was supposed to be helping him didn't show up. So he's like, "Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do." He couldn't even get to step 1
Yeah.
because he was relying on other people.
Yeah.
So my assistant manager and I, we're like, okay, I know X, Y, and Z people that are here in the building that drive,
Mhm.
that are able bodied. Let me see if they will help you. And then we kind of create that sense of community and go and
Yeah.
ask them and say, hey, your neighbor is struggling.
Would you be willing to
they need
help?
help. Will you help them? And that's kind of like where what I can do stops.
Yeah, and where Melanie can pick up and help out with the whole service coordinator part of it.
Right. Exactly.
So, I know we've talked a lot about the heavy stuff and the things that pull at our heartstrings
Yeah.
because a lot of these things like helping people out that we know are in these kind of situations I have dealt with in my own life with my own parents
Yeah.
and and it really kind of tugs at my heartstrings. But let's kind of transition a little bit.
We're
Like,
gonna
what
lighten it
is
up.
yeah? Let's lighten it up a bit. What is Melanie like? What are some of the craziest things you've had to deal with, or that you've had to
Just
do
a
in the
great, like,
yeah
give us a great
yeah? Give
story.
us give us a funny story. I wanna lighten it up. Make
So
me laugh.
crazy stuff with residents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sure.
this all ties into like something that happened today with a staff. So this staff came in and asked me for a notebook. And I was like, okay, we have some on this shelf. You can go in this cabinet. They open up the cabinet and they see this bowl of condoms.
Oh,
And the
okay.
staff was like, what are you doing with those? I said, well, I hand them out. So how we hand them out to the residents is because seniors is a large group where they get STDs and
They're
different
the
things
Yeah.
highest,
like that.
aren't they? I think they are the highest, aren't
They
they?
are the highest.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say
So
I've heard that.
so
Well, that's because they
count
can't get pregnant no more.
so the counties actually will give out condoms and service coordinators go to their counties and get them. But in addition to that, they have trainings for us. So there was a training I went to about 2 years ago, and it was called Sexy Seniors. And I'm
Oh
like,
god.
I'm
I
like, I'm
love
gonna
it.
sit
I
in
could
here.
just see that.
I love
and,
it.
and so
Bernadette hanging
and
out in
so
her nightie.
and so I'm thinking like, what's gonna happen? So it's the health department, and they're talking about the high levels of STDs in the senior population.
Yeah.
And they're like, you guys need to be responsible for giving your people condoms. And I'm like turning pink, blushing. And they like, have these little condom packets that they're passing out to
Did
us
you
in
teach it did they
Ziploc.
teach you how to put it on a banana?
They did not.
Oh, come
Yeah,
on.
I don't think I
Okay, so
wanted to do
I
that.
did mention that my property is very active. I did not mean very sexually active, but
Yes, she
maybe they
did.
are, Melanie. Are they
Well,
very sexually
I'm passing
active?
I'm passing out condoms. That's why
Left
she's
and
talking.
right. Here's
I
a
mean,
condom. Here's a condom for
I mean
you and a
that
condom
Hey,
for
you get a
you.
condom and you get a
see,
condom.
that's why
Maybe we
sometimes
need
you're
to have a sex education class. That'll be the next
well,
thing
we're
that we
we're gonna
do.
have one of those.
See,
So
perfect.
that's
Perfect. I
why
love that.
sometimes the office is so busy because they're coming to pick up their supplies. I
I
mean,
see that.
we have
Ding
I
some
dong.
we
I
Like,
give
love
woo.
that.
we give them more than just condoms,
I
you
think
know,
you
the
should
little
have I
accessories
think
that
you
go
should have
along.
a swinger class,
But
or
It's
like
the
but
first of the month. Somebody's taking someone
like
out on
a
a
S
date.
and
but these
S&M classes are coming up next.
but the classes
Please don't.
that I was in, all the other service coordinators and they had Ziploc bags with like condoms and different jellies and all of that.
Oh, this
And
is great.
while they're talking, all I can do is think about my mother, 70-year-old mother with her boyfriend, and I'm thinking, oh my God,
They
she's
got the
having
sex
sex.
swing
Oh
going.
my god! So when you got home, did you have to have the talk
Well, you
with
know
your
what?
mom?
This is the funny part. I didn't have the talk, but I did have nightmares thinking about her having sex with her boyfriend.
Listen.
And so the very next day she comes over my house and she's sitting there on the couch going through stuff in
And
her
you can't even
bag.
look at her.
No, but look, she leaves and I'm cleaning up and I see this like little makeup bag and I'm like, whose is this? I open it and it had a whole bunch of condoms in there. And it was and
She
it
probably
and
got them from your
but
bowl.
this is the worst part. And I knew it wasn't mine. I'm like, this is my mama. She left her, and I could see her makeup in there. And she had and I'm thinking, damn, I knew she was doing that. And and when I pulled out the condoms, they were like magnums.
Oh,
And they were all like crinkled up. And I'm like, these are old.
you're like,
She
So
"Mommy,
got
what
the
do I
can
glow
I
in
do?
the
use
dark
these?"
ones
So
and everything.
so what do I do? I go through Myers and I didn't want to go to the regular cashier. So I go through the U scan and I'm like swiping real fast, looking around. And I brought some new ones. And so I went back and I threw out the old ones and I replaced them all with brand new
You're
condoms,
like,
right?
Did you
"Listen,
get her
mom,
the like ribbed ones and the glow in the dark and
You
the
know what?
flavored
I
ones?
did.
flavored ones." Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't because I wanted them to match exactly hers. And so later on that night, she calls me and she was like, "Did you find anything?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Don't open it." And I'm thinking, "Damn, I just replaced her condom." And she's gonna know that they're not the same wrinkly old ones, but I prefer her to be safe.
Right.
You
Better
know,
safe
Listen,
than Mom, I'm not trying to have a younger brother.
I
You
Shauna, you
better be
need
and
I
I and all I could think was, I'm not ready for a stepdaddy. Well, you know,
All right. I feel like the
Ah,
next event you have
yeah.
is gonna be like a swingers class or like setting up your sex swing.
Okay,
Like
so
I want this to happen. Like, Glow is coming up. So get these seniors over to Glow. I mean, yeah, that's great. Like
okay, so
I want the seniors to
I'll
live in their
I'll
best
tell you a quick
lives. I
story.
am all for it.
So we had a bar night. Okay, so at my property, we're not allowed to serve alcohol or anything like that. But we had
Yeah, I
a
know you got
bar.
that alcohol-free beer.
I know. You know what? Whatever.
Blah.
old
It's
doodles.
yeah. So we do like bar-esque, right? So we got live music, we had bar food, like sliders and stuff like that. We did have non-alcoholic beer for people who want to just have the vibe. And we had it was like a rock and roll band. Oh my god. These people loved it. They loved it. They're getting down there dirty, just nasty old lady dancing with each other. And I'm like, "No. No, please stop."
No,
And
please do it. What do you mean stop?
like, they're over there just grinding up on each other, shoving their boobs and like motor boating each. I'm like, "Will you stop it?"
No,
Ethel.
I am supporting the senior
I'm
sex
like,
lives
"No."
here.
I'm like,
Like, let
"Ethel,
them have
put your titties
sex.
back."
No.
I am not
I
I'm not
mean,
having it.
if they stop by my office, I got them covered.
Yeah,
I
she's
mean,
got the
She
condoms.
literally has
Let
them
them have
covered.
sex.
yeah,
She has them
yeah,
covered.
they're literally covered.
I was like, "Get your nasty old lady asses off of this dance floor." I did. I felt like a chaperone
So see,
at like a middle
I'm
school
missing out.
dance.
Like
I
single family, we don't deal with any of this.
yeah, I
Like
felt
I
like
don't know if I find out about one of my tenants' sex lives, I'm like, what the hell is going on, and why am I knowing about this?
yeah, I think the
But
yeah. So I felt like a chaperone at like a middle school. I was like putting my arm between people like leave room for Jesus. like no, get out of here. Leave room for Jesus. So yeah, but they're wild,
I'm
man.
so glad we lightened it up here. I am loving the new topic of conversation.
So
I'm
how so Melanie question.
gonna run into these old people at the after hours bar one night.
Probably. Probably.
Like,
So how does
hey,
like because I feel with how as the generations age, they get more
Frisky. Lord,
I was gonna say they get a
yes,
little bit I
they're
was
really
gonna say a little
frisky.
bit more modest, but I guess
No,
not. No.
no.
So like how
modesty is over. Modesty was meant for when they were younger and
I know.
married.
I know.
I could
So
tell
how
you
do you like how does a conversation like that even start? Like, cause
well,
I know that you do, like, an assessment, you ask them, like, about their doctors, things like that.
yeah.
Like, is that just thrown in there and, like,
It's one of those, like,
what's your emergency contact? Are you getting
my
down on the slug? Like, what
my
is
thing is, I just ask them, "Are you active?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You know what I mean. Are you active?" And then I'm like, "Well, I have supplies, so in case you need anything, you can stop down here.
for
I
that
want you
Mommy's
to
dryness?
be
got you
safe."
covered.
Yeah, I'm like, "I want you to be safe."
Like, I'm gonna donate condoms. I'm bringing you all the different kinds. I'm gonna go to the store. I'm gonna get the ribbed ones. I'm gonna get the
You're
flavored ones.
you're
I'm gonna
gonna
get the glow
you're
in the
gonna
dark. These
Glow
make
in the
seniors
dark
are
one?
gonna get
You're gonna make
frisky and have a
the
lot of fun.
you're gonna make the assistant manager blush because she did this morning. So
Yeah,
she
my
was
Oh,
poor
I'm gonna
she
give
was
them
assistant.
like
right to her too.
she
Oh,
she
this is
was
gonna be
like, "Oh
great.
my god." I'm like, "What?" I mean,
This is gonna be great.
You're
I
like, "We're
can't
all
wait.
adults here." And she's like, "But are we? I don't know. That's kinda gross."
yeah, there's no shame when they come down.
Yeah.
It's like they'll come down and they're like, "So how you doing?" I'm like, "What do you need?" Like, just not, I'm like, "Come on, step inside. We won't do
Listen,
this on
we're gonna
camera."
expand on
Look,
this. It's not just gonna be condoms. I'm gonna get you all the things. I'm gonna donate a sex swing. I don't know where I'm gonna get it,
I don't know
but
where
I'm
that's
gonna
gonna
donate
go.
it.
So the thing is
Somebody
that
better
you
have an
can't do
extra
that.
room.
That is gonna be a hazard. If okay,
Listen, somebody might break a hip, but they're gonna have a good time doing it.
all right. So in conventional housing, I will tell you this story. I don't know how this turned into a sex story, but whatever.
We
So
lightened it up.
resident sex stories, not old people, but we once had a house that caught on fire.
Well, I have a
And you
story. Go
know
on.
this story?
Was
No,
it from
I was
was
gonna
it
say
from the candles?
I have a story to share in the
Was
single family, but
yeah.
go
So it's a
on.
single family house. It was like a higher end, um, upper class sort of rental, and it caught fire one night. The resident called
Just
to
hear that
let
deep
us
huff.
know that it caught fire. We're like, "Oh my god." So we go out, the fire marshal was already there. We go out to take pictures, and it turns out that the cause of the fire was candles in their basement sex dungeon
See, this is what I'm saying. They
that
need
lit
some extra
they
stuff.
lit
I'm not surprised.
their house on fire.
Fire.
They say the roof is on fire. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't know if they like I don't know. I don't know if they just like elbowed it. I'm gonna hope that they just elbowed it and it like
no, they
It
cut.
wasn't
didn't.
an elbow.
What it
That
was
shook
is
off the
they
I know
shelf.
they
they were
didn't.
trying to pour the wax
Oh,
and
yes,
it
that's
caught on
it.
Probably too.
fire.
It was probably hot, and then they dropped it.
Ooh,
I don't
feels
know.
so good.
So I don't know. But yeah, I can't. I think about that story, and somebody burned down my rental house with their sex dungeon. Okay, I don't want to know what kind of hip trauma is gonna come to my old people if you get them a sex swing, that's not happening.
Listen, I will get the handicap accessible one. I don't know what to say, but we'll get some straps for it.
With a
Well,
little
like
buckle.
it's fine. A little buckle, a safety harness. It'll work out. It'll work out. It's fine. It's fine.
So,
I just
okay.
feel like they need. I feel like they need this, and
It,
I feel like
it's
being
always
generous and
saying,
donating.
as I say, YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah,
So at that
Exactly.
exactly.
point,
Thank
why not?
you.
Why
Let them
not?
have fun instead of let them have cake. Let them have fun.
Let them have
Yes.
fun.
Um, so I have a story in the single family industry.
Okay.
So now we're on sex stories, guys. I don't we got here because
Because old people
yes,
be having
and
sex.
this is great. Mine is not like old people because different
I mean, it could
industry,
have been old
but
people.
I had a maintenance guy that went out to a property. Shauna, I'm sure you've heard the story.
I'm pretty sure I have.
And I won't say any names, but if you guys listen, you know who I'm talking about. Um, So he went out to this property to go do like some general maintenance that needed to be done, or he's meeting an inspector. I don't really remember what he was doing there. He was just there. And
He just
as
happened to be
he's
there.
going to leave, the tenant comes out and he's like, "Hey," and my guy's like, "What's up?" He's like, "You like to have fun?" He's like, "What do you mean?" And listen, I may be getting the wording wrong in this, but this is the premise, people. This is what happened. Um, So he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like,
You know what I
"Offer,
mean.
yeah, yeah, you know what he's offering him. You know what he's offering him." So he walks up, he's like, "Oh, I didn't hear you. Uh, what'd you say?" He's like, "Do you like to have fun?" And
Would
he's
you
like,
like
"What do
to
you
play
mean?"
a
And
game?
he offers him I'm not gonna say what, but it ends with job.
Oh, okay.
And
He offered him a job. He's
Okay.
like, "No,
ends
sir,
with
I'm
job. So
already
they're
employed."
gainfully employed and married. Um, offered him a job, and he's like, "No, I'm good, man," and left. One of my favorite stories from one of my maintenance guys that met with one of my tenants. I mean, you live your best life. You go and you do whatever you want to do, but I don't recommend that with that particular tenant. If this
Well, yeah.
tenant ended up ever listening to this, you know who you are.
Yeah.
But
Feel ashamed.
don't I mean, feel ashamed that he said no, but, try again, try again. But, it was one of the funniest things I ever heard when he came back and he's like, "You're a tenant, man." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
my tenants, man.
Lasha Lasha and I always say every
Gonna
single
get him
time
some condoms."
Lasha and I always say every time our tenants are acting up, they're her tenant, like, "What's going on with your tenant over here? Your tenants." It's like children. Every time they're bad, they're
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
else's kids.
exactly.
But I'm like,
Every time they misbehave, I
"Yep."
don't even work there. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, Melanie, besides the
Besides
condom
the sex
stories.
stories, I feel like we should continue about the sex stories.
I don't
That
think
could
I
be
have
it.
too much left with them.
Alright,
They
what
had sex,
other
it was done. That's
yeah,
all Melanie has.
it was quick. And so what other sort
And a
of,
cloud of smoke
like
came out when they were done. Sorry, go on.
what kind of challenges do you face, like, with the residents besides, like, I don't know, I guess just, like, normal challenges that people would think of. So we have, like like your sexy condom stories. Like, what other sort of challenges do you face with the residents?
One of the biggest things too is first of them not listening, even though, you
Tell me
know,
about it.
even though I'm acting in their
Preach.
best interest, I could tell that person, hey, you could stay in your place if you would remove those 62 empty boxes up against the wall.
Right.
And they're like, no, but I need them. And I'm thinking,
You
so you're
don't.
gonna choose these boxes over your housing.
That you're gonna be living in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have to put them all together and make one big box condo. Think about, you know.
Living better than
But
cats.
I think, listening, but also finding that balance of, look, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just trying to assist you in making sure you meet your daily goals,
Yeah.
far as taking care of your health, taking care of your home and your household. So it's a uh, sometimes a balance, or wordplay kind of to get them to move over to that direction.
Yeah, do what you need them to do
Yeah, to do what
to,
they,
like,
what you
comply
want
with
them to
whatever
do.
you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
hardest part. And
I
two,
have been there.
Yeah.
that another issue is hygiene issue. So that's a
Ugh.
difficult one for me to bring up to someone
Is it
that,
because you don't wanna embarrass them, or be I
I
feel
could I could see that that is a
so
hard conversation to
it's a
have with
hard
somebody.
and for me, because, like, unsanitary, bad hygiene smells that get into other people's units, like, that is a lease violation.
Yeah,
So I have to come up with it tactfully how I'm gonna talk to them and say things to them.
and that's not
So
an easy
it's not
thing to
it's
say, like, what am
not
I gonna do,
it's
put
not.
this in a
see, with
letter?
But I feel like sometimes, and, like, Melanie, you, like, tell me, like, what you think, but I feel like it's really difficult because you don't wanna embarrass them, but not everybody's definition of clean is the same.
yeah,
So for me, that's what makes it most challenging.
yeah. It's like I had a case today where 2 residents came to me about another resident that had a hygiene issue, and I knew part of what they were saying was true, and they're like, "Could you please speak to this person?" And I'm thinking, "How am I going to address this person because he's a very sensitive type of person?" And what I had remembered is like a week or so before, he had talked about how his side was itching and everything. So I called to do a welfare check on him, and I asked him, I said, "How is that health related issue you're having with your skin?" And he was like, "It's getting better." I said, "Well," I said, "Have you been bathing recently, like showering, taking baths, and things like that? Because that can lessen the inflammation. And say, how about using some Epsom salt
Right.
to help soothe you?" So I'm using that
Yeah.
to get him to, get better hygiene. It's like trying to come around that circle. And so he wasn't offended
Yeah,
because I was like, "Look, if you want
This'll
that
help
to
you.
get better, then you need to take showers, uh, at least twice a day, you know."
Right.
So that's something I had to do today, but it was that he was having an odor. Some residents noticed it in the community room. They were complaining. And I thought, what could I use to engage him and let him know that, he needs to clean?
yeah.
Clean better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See, that's something that I
you
never
never
would
have
have to
to.
deal with
Yeah.
in my industry because, I mean, I barely ever see my
Right.
tenants. Like, a lot of what we do is, electronic. And every once in a while, a tenant might come into my office to pay rent, but we like, even paying rent is electronic. It's very, like, rare that somebody comes in to even pay rent because, everybody knows you have a portal, this is where
Hands
you pay
off,
your
yeah.
rent. We don't really see people because
Yeah.
we work out of the office and we're not on site like you guys are.
Yeah.
So we don't see people like that. And, we're not like, we're in their lives, but we're hands off of
Yeah.
their lives. So you guys are in their lives and hands on because you are on site. So like, that is one of the huge differences between what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. Sometimes I miss being off the
I was gonna
site.
say,
Sometimes I
it
miss
would be
being
a
off
huge
site. Well,
adjustment.
I don't necessarily think that it's being on site that bothers me. I think what it is arguing with 70-year-old women because, my grandma lived with me. I took care of my grandma until she
Yeah.
passed away. And every single time one of these ladies gets catty with me, it feels like I'm arguing with my
Listen, I
grandmother.
was gonna say, like, you could respond to them like you would respond to Granny. Like, Granny, ooh, she
Oh,
would smack you in the face.
yeah, she
Like,
would.
hopefully your tenants don't do that,
No, they
but
don't.
you
They
can't
don't.
respond to them like you would Granny.
But
Y-
with my residents, I realized that, like, when I first got there, I didn't want to be mean.
Yeah,
And
Well,
you
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 never
never
wanna be
yeah, you never
mean.
wanna be mean. So I
It's
was
not a
like,
goal.
"Okay, well, I'm
It's
just
an
gonna be
inevitability.
super nice, and I don't really wanna bring this up, and, maybe if it happens again, and then I'll say something," and then you quickly realize, "Nope, can't do that."
Well, I
And
mean,
then
there's the times
you're
where you, try and be nice, but then you're like, you sometimes you kinda shoot yourself in the foot
yeah,
Yeah.
because you kinda set that precedence where this is like, I'm gonna be a pushover, and I'm gonna let you do whatever you wanna
yeah,
do
Yeah.
because I was, like, super nice and really relaxed about whatever the issue might
yeah,
be, and that's why in my industry, like, I set the precedence right away
yeah,
because I've been through it. I've been, what, 10 years, 11 years in this industry.
yeah,
So I know now that if I don't set it up, like set the precedent right away with people of this is how it is, that they're gonna think, well, next time I just walk all over them. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
what I want.
There's you definitely have to set it up in the beginning. When I
yeah,
came to the site, I came from a background where I was a service coordinator first, but I went into management for 3 years. And due to just changes in life, I decided to come back to it. And after being out of buildings for 3 years, actually coming back, and I had to let the residents know in the beginning, I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Okay. And my goal is to assist you. I'm not going to do it for you. I
Hmm.
feel like they should be able to handle and manage things on their own because the more I do for them, the less they do for themselves and they begin to deteriorate. So
Yes.
it's finding that balance in between helping but not harming them at the same.
Yep.
yeah. We
I
have
was gonna I was gonna say that same thing when you were saying that like you gotta find that balance between what is help and what is hindering them. Because like I've mentioned with my mom myself, like with her mental capacity like towards the end, um, there were times where the more you did for them, the less they could do for themselves.
the less capable they
Yeah,
thought they were.
and,
Mhm.
and, that was heartbreaking for me
Yeah,
in what happened with everything with my own mom, and so I could see that happening with the seniors who you work with.
yeah,
Like, if you do too much or you take too much control, they become dependent,
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can definitely see that happening because I've been through it.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's getting them to do things on their own. For instance, a big part of my job is actually transportation, helping them set up transportation. I make them come down with their doctor's information and everything, and I actually will call the smart system and I make them talk to the person and tell them the date, the time, and the address. I don't do it for them. I make them do it. And they're like, "Can you do it?" And I'm like, "No. You're capable of doing this. You can use my phone." I put the phone on speakerphone. So in the event that I do need to step in and redirect, I do, but I let them do it themselves.
See, I like that
Yeah.
because you're setting them up for success and, like 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 we said, like, it can I don't think a lot of people realize that when people get older, it's very easy for them to deteriorate
yeah,
if you do everything for them. So you as their service coordinator, kinda helping them, walking them through it, but not holding their hand the entire time and doing it all for them, like, that is, like, part of your job is making sure they can still be independent
yeah,
because they are living independently.
yeah,
Like you're independent living, you're not assisted living.
yeah,
So having somebody like you that can help them maintain that independence, that's really important, and I applaud you for that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the goal of your program is to ensure that people can stay independent for as long as possible.
Yes, that is the goal. Is we want them to age in place gracefully.
Yeah,
A lot of times it costs the government more money to put them in a higher level of care than to help them stay in
exactly.
their home. So actually, the service coordination program is actually a cheaper way for them to keep people aging in place.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. I can say that for sure. But we're gonna have to wrap it up. We got the 5-finger countdown. All right. Well, Melanie, thank you so much for
Yes,
being on
thank
the
you. We
episode
appreciate you so
today.
much.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
and we'll definitely have you on again.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks.